We got the hood up on the Porsche 928. So now we're gonna work on putting all this stuff in, doing some tune-up, fluid changes, things like that, and try to get this thing moving sooner than later. So as you can see, I'll run through some of the stuff we got. All new spark plugs, automatic transmission filter and seal. We've got oil seals, fuel seal, oil filter, fuel filter, cap, rotor, smog pump, filter, ATF fluid, air filter here. Got all the stuff to do oil changes. Got some fuel system cleaner. Got an engine flush, we're gonna run that. So hopefully once we get all this stuff in here and get it all going, we'll have a car that's in a little bit better shape and closer to being able to get on the road. So if you want to see the steps to do all of this stuff, please subscribe and watch the video, and I'm sure there'll be more 928 content to come. First thing I'm going to start with is this air filter smog pump thing. So that's that one. Spin around here and try to get you a shot down there so it's hard to see. So there it is. That's the canister that filter goes in. WD-40 to get the rust broke loose. Hit it with a pair of pliers real quick. Got it busted. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that off, pull the old one out. Let's see what that thing looks like. Get the new one in there and call that done. All right, so that's back in there with the new filter. Tightened it down finger tight. I did wipe a bunch of stuff off. So inside of the lid and the canister itself I wiped down, so all that black stuff right there is just, I guess, dirt and whatnot, but definitely was dirty in there, so I wiped all that stuff down, vacuumed it out, got all the junk out. So the new one's in there, and we're gonna move on to the next thing after I throw all that trash away. I'm gonna use this engine flush right here just to get it off the counter for now. But basically we're gonna take this liquid moly engine flush and we're gonna pour it right down in there. And then once I've done a few other things, I'll run the motor for, I don't know, 15-20 minutes, get it up to temperature, let it run before we change the oil. So that's the next step. Pour this in here, put the cap back on that thing, and then I'll run it in a little bit because I don't want to be working on a hot motor for some of this other stuff we're doing. So poured all that in there. Just screwed the lid back down on that thing nice and tight so that when we run the motor we don't spray any oil out. Next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and put this in. There's no reason to wait. That way this will be working on the fuel system while we're running the motor. So that's going to go in the gas tank, and that'll be quick and easy for that one. All right, I've decided the next task I'm going to go after is these spark plugs. So there's, I'll call it number one. It's the front cylinder on the passenger side. But I'm going to go ahead and pop that spark plug wire off of that thing. Start working on that. As you can see, there's, so that's that one, then that one. Then we have to come back here, another one there, and another one back there. So I'll work on getting these out, and I'll set them aside so that we can look at them, read them, see what we think's going on with the engine. And no clue last time they were changed, but we'll see what they got going on once we get those out. So I'm gonna go ahead and work on the first one. Okay, so I got in here and started trying to disconnect that first spark plug wire, and I realized that it would be easier if I just went ahead and got these tubes out of the way. They run back here and run up into the air cleaner. You know, they run down both sides. You saw them before in the video. So I've popped those off. Really, they just slide off. There's no real connectors or anything. There is a spot where this kind of drops down. I'll go back over and show you. But basically it's just those pieces of plastic. I did find that they are kind of a little bit gnarled up on the back side. There's some cracks and stuff. Somebody tried to spray paint them and make them look better, but really didn't. So anyway, pulled those off, super easy. Then gives you a little bit more room. And then this thing right here, so that hole on the tube sits down on top of here, just to kind of help hold that, which is the timing chain cover, but that's it. So I just got those out of the way so I wouldn't mess those up. All right, so I got number one and number two off. So this is the first one here. As you can see, this goes all the way down in there like that. And then there's your spark plug down in the hole. Got the second one off, pulled it sitting right here. So that's ready to go too. Okay, here's my contraption. I don't have a super long 3/8, but so I had to put 2 extensions together. I stuck a swivel on it just to give me the leeway I'm gonna need. This one actually, I just bumped it like twice and it did great. Popped right out. So go ahead and see if I can get this one out of here for you. But basically that's the plan the rest of the way down, is just to do that. Let's see, not all the way out, but I can get it with my finger from there. Well, here's what I figured out. Trying to get down to that, which I can get my socket to it, because I found out on the second one here that up here at the top is not big enough for my socket, but if you come down to the side and you clear the socket through, then you can rotate up the extension. So I'm not worried about getting the socket in here. There's plenty of room, and even up here for that. I just can't get my meat hooks down there to be able to grab that thing, and I can't get the one in the back here either. I tried to feed my hand through from the front side up here, but that doesn't work either. So I think what I'm gonna end up doing is go ahead and pull this air cleaner off the back real quick. Looks like it's just a couple bolts. As you can see, the air cleaner itself, there's a leaf and all that. Pulled this up, but there's a couple bolts in there that hold the air cleaner down. So I'll probably just pull out this old nasty filter. It's going to the trash can anyway. Unbolt that air cleaner from the back here, and then I'll be able to come in from the back side to pull the spark plug wires off for these last 2 cylinders, because I'll have to do all this over again on the other side. Okay, I popped the filter out. So there's that bolt. There's a couple bolts down there, and then one on the other side. As you can see, there's a dirt dauber nest down in this part, which is behind the filter, so that's not good, but we'll definitely get that out of there. And then the filter itself, once I got it out in the light, you can see this is not very good either. You got a piece of electrical tape, a leaf, really dirty. Before I put the new one in, I'll slap it down on the floor next to it and show you the difference. Okay, now that we've pulled this off, let's go for a quick little tour. So that comes out, as you can see, you got your 2 bolts there. They don't actually come all the way out. They're kind of held on the back side. You've got your, I'll put the light down, but you've got that piece, which came out of the middle, and then this gasket, which goes on the back side of this thing on the bottom, and then goes basically on the back side of this plastic. And then this is why I really had the light, was down here, so you can see down in here, that's where the throttle body is. So the gasket goes up against that side, then the plastic piece bolts down on top of it. I did also have to remove this one hose right here, just a little hose clamp on that, but that goes on that little I guess nipple thing that sticks out right there. But that's it. So now you can see all back in here. I can easily get my arm down around there and get a hold of those spark plug cables, and also just check down in here in general and see what else is going on. But that opens it up quite a bit and gives some room to put your hands in there. Okay, we got the spark plugs out. I will say that the other side, I'll just show you that, but success, we got all the spark plugs out, came out real easy, no issues whatsoever. So I'm glad that worked out. I will say on this side over here though, you can see while they're generally, the intake runners are about the same as far as everything, there's this extra hose here that kind of gets in your way. So that made it harder for that next to last cylinder on this side. I basically had to go in from the back side back here with the swivel and use kind of the full extent of the swivel, but it came out just fine. So that's why that side's just a little bit different, but since I got that air box out of the way, it was no issue whatsoever, pretty easy. So then we'll come over here. I'll try not to trip on the cord and kill myself. Stepped on it again. Hey, cords. So the other thing I want to point out, these are Autolite NGK. Don't know why. Autolite, same here, Autolite. Second one back, NGK, Autolite. So Not really sure why they did that, but I guess that's what they did. Okay, I thought I'd kind of show you how we're doing this. Not trying to insult anybody, but I also don't know who watches these things and how technically savvy they are, or what degree of information they're looking for. So what I do is I disconnect the connector and all that stuff from the ratchet, come in here with the spark plug in the spark plug socket, because you know it holds it in there with that little rubber gasket in there. So I come in here and I do this. This is the back cylinder on the passenger side. So I come in here and do this all finger tight, get it to the point where it pretty much hits. So then once that's finger tight, then I come over here, grab my socket, or my ratchet, or put that sucker on there, and then I just give it a little snug. There's probably a torque setting, being that this is made by Germans, but I don't know what it is. Anyway, so then that socket just doesn't want to come off perfectly, but I just reach down there and pull that off, and your spark plug's in. So that way I don't have to worry about stripping it or anything as I'm trying to put it in. So that's the way I do it. Maybe other people do it different ways. So anyway, last two on this side done. You see number 3 there, number 4 there under the socket, and 1 and 2 up here, which I've already got the wires back on. So we're just trucking along. I'll go ahead and finish the other side and move on to the next step of this tune-up. Okay, on this side, I got the first 2 in already. When it came time to do the third one, I told you I was using the whole extension set and all to reach down in there, but on this one, I just used the socket because you can't come down this way. So you're at an angle coming from the side over here, and trying to use the swivel and all that stuff just wasn't the best for feel as far as making sure you didn't strip it. So I just used the socket. Now I'll stick the whole extension set and the swivel and all in, give it a little snug up, and then should be pretty much set to go, except for I gotta get that one in. But anyway, we'll finish those up, put all the connectors on, and move on to the next thing. Next step, I'm just going to go to the other end of those spark plug wires that I just hooked back up on the driver's side, and we're going to replace the cap and rotor. So in here, so as you can see, there's 2 screws here. We're going to have to undo the screw on this side and one on the other side, and then get this cap off. And then I've got the task of one by one taking these off, putting the other one back, moving it over to the new cap, trying not to get them all mixed up, because that would be bad. So I'm gonna go ahead and undo this, get down there to the rotor, swap out the rotor, and then work on switching the wires out. Okay, so I got this off. As you can see, there's the rotor, here's the cap. To be honest with you, the cap doesn't look that bad. Probably what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and change it, and I'll keep this one instead of throwing it away, because it doesn't look that bad. The rotor doesn't look horrible either, but it is kind of chewed up a little bit on the end down there. So I'll go ahead and replace these, but I'll keep the old ones. Now that I got these out here on the bench, I just thought I'd show you. So there's the end of that one. It's a little discolored, and you can see the metal is pretty thin on the end. Also, once you look on this, it's this circumference here skinnier. The piece of metal that you can see down inside of there is a little bit lower. Come over to this one. You can see this one looks a little different. That metal on that end looks a little thicker. Come around here, the circumference here is around this part right here, and this part is thicker. And then when you spin around and look at this piece of metal, that piece of metal inside of there is bigger too. So anyway, this one's Bosch, and according to FCP Euro, this is what it takes. So this one looks a little different than what was in there. This one's also a lot lighter. Made in Italy. Don't know what it is. All you do is just pop that off. You literally just pull it off the end and just pops out, and then you just slide the other one on. It only goes one way. So we'll get that new one on there. Here you go, everybody. Here's the old one off. I have no idea what brand it is. There's no markings on it, so it's some kind of generic deal. But it doesn't look bad, so I'm going to keep it just in case. You can also see how there's not a screw that holds it down. Just those you push down. There's spring loaded. It swivels underneath a catch, and so that's how you do it. So this one is a black one, Bosch. As you can see, and then right down there you can see how that little hook right down there hooks underneath the thing, and so it's tight. New rotor was in there, just push that on and you feel it click. So that's done. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the air box back on this thing, and then I think at that point I'm going to go ahead and run it for a little bit while I work on trying to get ready to jack it up in the air, put it up on jack stands, and then transition to oil and transmission and fuel filter, some of that stuff. So I'll go ahead and get this this air filter housing off the floor and get that put back in. Got this back in. As you can see, like I said, taking out that bolt, same one over there. And then these 4 bolts down here, there's 2 on this side, 2 on the other side. You can kind of see one. Now, the trick is that throttle body piece that's down there, it moves a little bit. So I went to put this back in, hole wasn't lining up, and I didn't realize that part moved. So a little bit of investigation, realized that there's that part down the bottom, that silver part kind of wiggles just a little bit, so it's enough that you can get everything lined up. But it is a touch fiddly trying to get the gasket and this big plastic box and this little tube all lined up so you can get your bolts in there. So I actually started a bolt without this plastic funnel in there, and got it kind of lined up, then brought the funnel in, started a second bolt, swiveled it around, you know, just kept it loose, but then got the first bolt back out and all that. So just kind of fiddly, but just so you know, the silver throttle body piece in there does move around, and that way you can get it all lined up. Everything's tightened back up, so I'm gonna put the new filter in and put all the hoses and stuff back on, and then I'm gonna crank this thing up, run it for a little bit. Okay, I told you when I got ready to put this back in, I'd show you the old one next to the new one. Instead of throwing the new one down there on the floor, I figured I'd just bring this one up here to the bench, but that's what it's supposed to look like. So obviously it didn't. So this thing should be breathing a whole lot better between the that smog pump thing and this, and then new spark plugs and everything. So we'll get her put back together here real quick and get her cranked up. Okay, got that back on. I'm just gonna leave it like that. I'm not going to put the hoses that connect all the way up to the front back on yet, because I still got to do an oil change and some other stuff. So that way I can get, sorry for the wiggling, trying to do everything here. I need a third hand. Anyway, so that's back together. I did connect that hose back under there that I had to take off, and then you can see, it's kind of hard to see, but there's another hose that connects in underneath. You can sort of see the little hole inside the tube there where it goes down, and then you can see like straight down in there there's a hose that comes out of that silver thing with the plasticky looking knob on it right in the middle of the screen. It goes up, you can see how that hose kind of goes up. It's really hard to get under there and tighten it, so it's lined up but it's not pushed all the way on like it should be. Hopefully it's good enough. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and crank this thing up, let it run for a little bit, run that engine flush through there, and then we'll shut it down, get it jacked up, and start working on the oil change. Okay guys, well, it's running. You haven't disconnected really anything, so there shouldn't be anything leaking or anything, but brake was a full start, it's running. got this thing up in the air now. So I got her on jack stands, sitting here ready to go. Okay, we're under the car. As you can see, somebody's hit something a couple times here, so that's got a little bit of rustiness there. Makes sense being that the front suspension is sagging down. Anyway, here is the drain plug, and the one that I have to replace it does not look like that at all. So anyway, we're gonna pop that out, and then you can see there the white circle. That's the oil filter, which has a little drop of oil on the end of it, so that's interesting as well. Anyway, we'll get those two things out, drain the oil out, and start putting the new stuff back on. Okay, so found out something valuable. My oil pan here, which I've used for my truck, my wife's truck, the 66 truck, has never overflowed before. But apparently a 928 has a metric buttload of oil in it. So you can see it went all over, thrown down tons of rags. It's still leaking. I hadn't even got the oil filter off yet. So if you're going to do an oil change on a 928, make sure you have a really big pan to catch it in, because mine wasn't big enough, and it's going to keep being a mess because I've got to somehow pour that oil that's already overflowing back into a jug, which means I'm going to spill it some more. So kind of a disaster, but oh well. Okay, I got the old oil filter off. I found out part of the reason why it was leaking was I just took it off with my hand. Didn't even need a wrench to get it off. So yeah, it was super loose. So that would explain why it was leaking. It was also a Napa oil filter that they put on here. So whoever was doing this was trying not to spend very much money. But here's the new one. Obviously came from SCP Euro, so this one's all set, ready to go. We'll get this one back on there. The other thing I wanted to show you was this oil plug, which it's pretty greasy too, but that's what I was saying. I don't know what the deal was. If this was supposed to be like some kind of, maybe I was just supposed to rotate that and it was supposed to let the oil out. Kind of what it looks like. And yeah, some kind of little drain cock thing on there. I don't know. I'm not a fan. I got a new one anyway, so we're gonna put the new one on. I may clean that up and put it to the side, but that's what that was. Now that I look at it a little closer out of the car, you take this lever and you swing it around to the front, and then there's, opens it up in there. I mean, interesting. Guess gonna make it easier, but I don't know, not a fan. I just like a regular old drain plug. So we got this new one right here. It's also magnetic, so it'll catch anything. But anyway, we'll put that one in and start buttoning this thing back up, and then figure out what I got to do with all that mess I got down there, because my drain pan wasn't big enough. Okay, so there's the new drain bolt and the new black oil filter right here in the middle. So all that stuff's buttoned up. Now we're gonna pour the oil in from the top. Okay, so we got this done. Poured the oil back in. Dipstick is right down there. We checked and made sure we're right smack in the middle between the full and low. So I'm gonna leave it there. We'll run the motor in the future once I get done with some other stuff. And then we'll check it again just to see if we need to put another cord in. So I know it was on the video earlier, but so this is what we were using, this liquid moly. It actually looks kind of silverish when it goes in. It's definitely not the normal looking oil. This is a semi-synthetic. This is like what came out of FCP Euro, so I'm gonna go with them and say that they know what they're doing. Anyway, so that's what went in there. We put the big jug and two of the little jugs and just barely got it between, kind of got right in the middle between full and needing to add a quart. So that would explain why my tub overflowed down there. Anyway, we're gonna button this up here and say, there you go. That is the tune-up stuff that we're gonna do on this one for now. We did the spark plugs, cap, rotor, oil change, air filter, smog filter. So that's pretty much it. We are now gonna work on the fuel filter and the transmission filter. Those will be different videos. So again, please subscribe and come back and see what else we're doing to this.